Hello folks, it's your friend Bernie here. So before we get into today's episode, Emily and I need to let you know that the Summer 2024 Community Manager cohort is now open for registration. When you work on a project or work in a business, it can be very, very lonely and isolated. And even though you're surrounded by people, finding the right people to connect with and talk through those problems is really hard to do. Everything that's ever worked for me and Emily in our lives has been around doing stuff either in a coaching scenario or in a small group scenario. So in a 12-week commitment with yourself and other people, you will unravel and come up with solutions and ideas and connections that you didn't even think were available. So if you go to the link in the show notes, wherever you're listening to this, or if you go to the coworkingvaluespodcast.com, and there's a link in the website bar there that goes to cohorts. And now let's get into today's episode. Hello, folks, and welcome to this month's edition of Community is the Key, which is our project with Christian and Lucy from Salto, everyone's always talking about community, and we're always looking for different ways to grow community, start community, evolve community. And today in the studio, live from Urban MBA HQ in London, is Ali. So Ali, what are you known for, and what would you like to be known for?
Hi, Bernie. What am I known for? I'm known for being a connector and a northerner. And what do I want to be known for? I want to be known for what I'm about to achieve, what I'm doing now, and dreaming.
Gee, Ali, what are you doing now?
What am I doing now? Right at this moment, I'm sat in Urban MBA's offices, Colfin, my friend's offices. Yeah, that's what I'm actually doing now. Is that what you meant?
I was thinking a bit more bigger picture there. I was trying to segue into the whole food and
Oh,
Carib Eats thing.
okay. Right. So that I'm focusing. Yeah. So Carib Eats is a social enterprise that started in lockdown, and that's where my focus is at the moment, along with a couple of other things. But let's talk about that because it's all about community.
That's the bit. That is the bit because I'm not sure if I met the first time I met you, but
Yeah.
was it when I came with my niece Molly to
Yeah.
Urban
Yeah.
MBA? Yeah. So folks, a lot of you listening to this have been to the Urban MBA HQ near Old Street, and I went downstairs with my niece Molly, who did her work experience at Town Square, and in the EdTech Centre, there's Ali, and at the back, who was making the food?
So the food was made by a chef, but somebody cycled it in. Not somebody, an organisation that uses loads. What is it? Those carbon thing bikes. So that food had been brought in, and Kofi said to me, "My trustee's coming down." So I was like, "Oh, is this important person coming down?" Then you rock up with your niece, and you were really laid back and easygoing, and then you sat down with us and was just eating food with the community, and you were just like blown away. Which it was just, what I can tell people what I do, but experiencing it is so much better. And I've had a few visitors to our other canteen, and one of the visitors was somebody from Age UK, and she's just saying that she wants to use my model to train her staff. But anyway, that's how we met, and yeah.
It was so much fun sitting around that table with those people eating that food, and I just remember laughing and laughing and laughing, and it really like helped my niece go, wow, this is. She actually said to me, "Oh, is this what you do all day? Like just eat food with these people and laugh?" And I'm like, "That's pretty much how I'd like it to be." But really importantly, because this is part of the like community, local connecting stuff. So there's that it really struck me. There's that EdTech Centre, and who were those people sitting around the table eating food by the 3D printer and the metaverse desk and the stuff like that?
So they were local residents, but I just need to go back a little bit to kind of explain why they ended up where they were. So we've got a really successful canteen, a model that we've refined, and my dream is to replicate that because I want as many people to benefit from that as possible. So I decided to speak to Kofi. I've known him for quite a while now. We're both based in Hackney, and we always end up at like kind of same events and stuff. And he goes, "Well, we use the space downstairs," and I was like, "An EdTech space and older people, and is that going to work?" But we decided to mix the two, and so we just put the word out. And those people who around that table were people from the immediate area, which is it's so interesting, the area. You know, on one side you've got millionaire apartments and houses, and the other side you've got estate upon estate upon estate. So it's a mix of people from the immediate area and some people who attend the canteen to kind of show people what the model is and welcome people.
That's the bit that's really important, is because so many, like, one thing I always say is my friend ran a thing called Freelancers UK, and it was a 15,000 strong Facebook group for freelancers based in the UK. And this was about 2014, 2015, he started it. And every year he put in there, what is co-working? And people, like 70 people would answer in like 20 minutes and say, they'd say some form of co-working is where dudes go to make their tech startups. And so much of co-working isn't just that. It's the average age of a person in a co-working space is something like 40, and loads of them are parents, and they need to have somewhere to go and, make their startup or do their business or remote work more nowadays. And it's such a neighborhood environment, but the image is, like, want to be Mark Zuckerberg's. He's really old now, actually, isn't he? I need a new example. And then something a lot of people find difficult is connecting, like you just explained, with the local area. So instead of this office space in the middle of the neighborhood popping up, it can be a place where people from all generations and reasons come to this community hub that is also where you do your work. And that's the vision of other people that have been on this podcast, like Matthias Holowich and his New Aging book, where he talks, I'll put a link in the show notes to that episode, but Matthias has this vision of old people he describes as pioneers. And he's got lots of examples that he's researched through this. So instead of like sending all the old people over here and all the young people over here, when people are together, it just creates these magic connections between the local community and enhances everything.
I've seen that here, right? Just by so Kofi does a session at the end to talk to them about technology, and he's gone back to the basics, maybe starting with setting up your email and then introducing ChatGPT and those kind of things. But now they come in, they know him, right? And I can see how his face, he lights up when they go, "Hey, Kofi," some of them bring him little gifts and stuff like that. So co-working, what you described before, that's not my... All right, I haven't experienced that kind of co-working where it's kind of cold. You go in, nobody knows your name, and you leave. That's not for me. That's not the kind of person I am anyway, So I don't thrive in those environments. I need, I'm not saying I need people to know who I am, but I want someone to say hello to me, and I want to be able to say hello to somebody else. But some co-working spaces, it's not set up for that, And I think I don't know how this was set up, and I don't know if it's by accident here at Urban MBA, but you can't come in this space and not speak to somebody. You couldn't. They wouldn't let you through the door.
The way the space was set up actually was Charlie from Workers League put us in touch with James, who has the building, and they needed someone to take over the building, and it is a London co-working assembly connection thing. James needed to do something with that space that you're in now, and Charlie just said, "Oh, we'll have a word with Kofi." Just so many really magic things. I don't want to say it's just through the co-working community, because that's like, I want to say that, but that's not really true. But that's what I wanted to think. But so many things are about like little conversations and connections, and it's not about like what school you went to and stuff like that. It's just how much you're paying attention and how much you care and how much you're looking out for other people. Can you, while we're in this little connection thread, can you say a bit about how you started this? And there's that video on the front page of your website, which I'll put in the show notes, and it is I think, is it a lady that's standing outside saying this is like, I was almost in tears watching it. You know, like I'm really, you know, I'll cry at anything, but it's so magic, the connection of people and food, and that was that. I'm guessing that was in lockdown time, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that lady you're talking about, her name's Elaine, and so you're right. You said to me before, and you've told the story a million times, but tell it again. And it started with one meal, and it started with me responding to a WhatsApp message, and giving a meal to this guy, and from that, um, it just one meal, 5 meals, 10 meals, went on and on. But at that time, I was two of my friends were cooking and I was a driver, my friend was a driver. And it was lovely to get out. The roads were clear and the weather was warm. And it was just, it was like, it was like, you know what it was like.
Yeah, yeah.
The streets were empty.
On that
So,
point, so my son was still going to school because my wife was a key worker, and we were able to ride our bikes. He was like, I don't know, 8 at the time. We were able to ride our bikes down the Eastern Avenue in Ilford because there was no traffic on it.
I know it was lovely, right? So how I spent my time was knocking on doors and delivering the meal. So we didn't have to recruit, we didn't have to advertise. People who just kept contacting us, you know, different professions, different neighbours, different people. So I remember sometimes I'd go out in the first week and I'd knock the door and they'd be like, who was it? I've just come to bring you a meal. And the door would open a little bit and then they just take the meal. Now by week, I don't know, week 4, doors open, I'm sat on the wall, I'm having a chat, you know, social distancing and all that stuff. But I got to know the people and it was a really lovely period. But in that time, we'd got some money to make those videos, and Elaine was one of the. I think that it's Elaine you're talking about. I was lucky enough to be the deliver the food to her, and she's not an easy character. She's really not an easy character. But as the weeks went on, she'd be like, "Oh, what have you got on today? Oh, what's on the menu for today?" And yeah, it's I forget about those videos and where we started. So we started with deliveries, and we were known for that. And then I got knackered, I got really tired, and paused for a bit, which I felt guilty about. I'm not Mother Teresa, but I did feel guilty because there was such a need for it. And then I came up with the idea of let's bring people together because people were scared to come out of their houses, you know. So we brought people together, and that's what we call a canteen. So what you experienced, Bernie, was an idea from my head that always blows my mind. That I thought about that, and then as actual people sat down, eating and connecting and making friends, and yeah, it's lovely that that's happened.
What why do you do it? Like, I mean, I kind of go and sit around that table. Like, I actually, like, when I come back to London, I think about how can I be there on a Monday, and it hasn't worked out yet, just so I can sit down and eat that food around that table. So there's a massive kind of pull to it. But you know, there's got, like, what is it that makes you go through all this? You know, all the fundraising and organising the kitchens and the staff and the volunteers and buying the equipment, and you know, because it's not just, you know, popping. It's not a pop up thing. It's like a lot behind the scenes to get that meal. It's like event catering, basically, isn't it?
I'm telling
You
you,
know?
there's so much. Sorry, there's so much work involved, and I think people think it's just like ta-da, but oh god, and that's the bit. But when you start something like this, I didn't know I had to learn all these other things around business because it becomes a business. And one thing, if there's a headline to this podcast, I want it to be, it shouldn't be this hard to help people, you know, but it often is because you go from responding to your community to helping them out to then having red tape. Oh, have you got a bank account? Oh, have you got this? Oh, have you got that? Have you got this? And you're just like, God, I just want to help people and feed them. But you need that in order to be sustainable, and that's a whole other podcast. But in answer to your question, and I don't want to get like, I don't want the violins playing in the background when I say this, but I come to London and I didn't know a soul. The only person I knew was my mum. And I experienced loneliness at a really young age coming to London. And I used to like plan when I was going to the shop because that's like when I'd have an engagement with somebody. And so I know, and it's a really deep feeling, loneliness. If you're really lonely, it's an awful emotion to feel. So I think I know what that is. And so when we were in lockdown and I went to give that first meal to the guy, I walked away with two emotions. And the first emotion was gratitude that I was in a position to be able to help this man because I hadn't always been in that position. And the other emotion I felt was sadness for him because I know what that felt like to be in that house by himself. His mum had just died. All these support services had gone overnight, and being in that house by himself and he's got learning difficulties. I just thought, that's not fair because I know I was going home to my two sons. I've got like loads of friends, families, and etc. I was quite happy to be doing nothing at home. So, and the reason why I continued is because I could and I can, and I just there's people who've given their life to this world, right? And some of them are just sat in a bloody flat. But I don't know if I can say bloody, but anyway, I've said it. Are sat in a flat or a home or a house by themselves, as lonely as. I'm going to tell you a little story afterwards about Malcolm. Remind me to tell you about Malcolm, but I think that's why I do what I do.
That is, so we run what we call nowadays the Creator Right Club, and we've been running it since 2014 in different co-working spaces. And originally it was about writing. And I want somewhere to write and concentrate and focus. And it was quite a kind of, yes, I'm a very serious writer and I'm doing some deep work, and it's very, very important what I'm doing. And now it's a connection point because writing on its own is quite a lonely, pastime. And so many times over the years, we've sat around a table and people have said, I come here because, this is when I see people. I live in London. There's 8 million people in London and I'm really lonely. And it is heartbreaking and like quite weird how so many people can be in such a densely concentrated space and still be lonely. And, was it Malcolm that
Malcolm, I'm going to let me tell you just quickly. So,
yeah, go.
food is our hook, right? And it is about the food because we're coming to eat something nice, but it's what we do is about connection, right? When you're disconnected, is so much different to when you're connected with people. So I was at an event and somebody asked me to chair this kind of meeting, and I can hold my own, I can keep a crowd in control, right? Anyway, I'm doing what I'm doing, and this guy Malcolm just kept talking and talking and talking. So as he's talking and interrupting me, I'm taking that as a sign. I'm not saying this to him. I'm taking that as a sign that he doesn't get to talk very much. So I remember saying to him, Malcolm, can you be quiet, please? And I'll talk to you later. He's like, okay. Anyway, I went up to him and I said to him, hi, Malcolm, what's up? And he told me. And he goes, I just don't get to talk to anybody and I'm very lonely and my wife's died. And I said, look, come to Carib Eats. I gave him the details, but I had to rush off, right? So that was that. Then, I don't know, about a week later, I'm in the supermarket and I've come outside and it's drizzling, spitting, as we say. And Malcolm stood up in where the trolleys are waiting for taxi. So I goes up to him and I said, Malcolm, I said, you remember me? He's like, kind of. And I said, we met at the meeting. He said, yeah. And he started crying. And he said, he goes, I don't know. He goes, I'm just so lonely. He goes, since my wife passed away, my friends have all, gone. He goes, I've got no friends. My neighbours don't speak to me. He goes, I'm just really lonely. And I said, Malcolm, let me tell you something. I can't promise the world, but what I can do is, I can help you out with that. And he goes, really? I said, yeah. I said, come to Carib Eats, the canteen. Just come for one session and let me know. So I phoned him on the morning to make sure he was coming, and he goes, he went to like check out the place the day before. And he came and he stayed. And if I showed you some of the WhatsApp messages that I get from this man saying, my life's so full, I've got so many people who think about me. I get WhatsApps, I get text messages, I go to the cinema. And that's why I do what I do, because it bothers me to know there's Malcolms of this world sat by themselves. And if a canteen can do something about that and connect them to others, my job's done. Like, I don't orchestrate anything more than that. Just open the doors. If it's a new member, we introduce that new member. But the friendships that are formed, they do the rest of it. Yeah, I think that's why I do what I do, and I get low. It sounds really cliche, but I get a lot of love from these people, and that feels nice as well.
I get it. I get the same thing from Create a Right Club. Like, someone will send me a WhatsApp message like 6 months, and they'll say, thanks for making me." Every so often I like find someone and I hunt them down and make them go to it. And then a few times, like probably only 3 or 4 times. Don't want to like exaggerate it like it's every week I get a new thing. But someone says, "Thank you for making me come to that. I was really blocked and stuck in my writing, and I was sitting at home in my flat, and in Pinner or somewhere like that." And they go, "I came out and I did all this stuff, and I met these people, and now we're doing this, and I've started a blog after all these years. I wanted to do it." And it's tiny little micro things, like making a meal, or someone actually like writing what they wanted to write for ages is a, it's not an Olympic goal for the 100 meters, but it's a great thing.
When we met, Bernie, I wouldn't, if somebody had said, "Oh, you and Bernie are quite similar," I would have said, "No, we're not." But you're a connector, right? You love connecting people, and you've got, this piece of information will be helpful to this person, and making that happen. And I think I'm very similar in that, because I don't know about your life personally, but I'm all right. I'm okay, and I've got choices, and not everybody has, or they do have those choices, but maybe they just don't know where to start. So listening to your, what did you call it? What's it called? Creative Writers Club.
Create a Right Club.
Yeah, which is the writing's like come and write, but it's about connection, and it's about what's really going on, and without you saying, "Hi, come to the Writers Club and have some free therapy." It's not.
But it's taken a lot of people. I just thought, I really did. I'm not trying to be like cute here. I just thought that's what people did. And so many people have had to say like, not everyone spends half their day like connecting people over like a book or a meal or a bit of food or, this record or something like that. And
it's the way you're made, Bernie, though. I think it's the way you're made, and I used to think like that. What I'm doing, I didn't think was special. And I'm not saying it's special, but it kind of is special. And I think we think like that, and so when we think like that, and some things come easy to us, it's just like, well, everybody does that, don't they? And no, they don't, Bernie. Like, a lot of people don't care about their fellow neighbour. They really don't.
But when I came down to the basement in the EdTech Centre, sorry, Kofi, the EdTech Centre
basements. It is.
That for me, like coming off of Wenlock Street after walking from through from Old Street and going downstairs and seeing that group of people eating that food, like that is London. That's one of the things that I think is like, I don't know, it was like so much history and connection, and why is it that food? Why is it Caribbean food?
So when I was cooking that day, when I got answered the WhatsApp message, I just happened to be cooking Caribbean food. Now, we weren't unique in that we were offering emergency food to people, but where we were, and this is dignity. What the work with Carib Eats, if one word remember this, it's the word dignity, right? If that's what you eat on a regular basis, and then you need support, and somebody comes along, and so your national dish is Caribbean food, and then somebody comes along and goes, "Oh, I know you're struggling, but we're going to give you I don't know,
tomato soup out of tin,
spam and egg or whatever it is." The nutritional value maybe okay, but it's what's familiar. So people ask me that. They kept saying to me, "But why Caribbean? Why not? if somebody is in a situation where they needed support, why couldn't they ask for, by the way, this is what I eat? There was an offer of plant-based food, there was offer of vegan meals, and the people that came to me was like, I eat meat, I like flavour. And so that's why it's Caribbean meals. It's Caribbean inspired. And yeah, why not? It used to really bug me when people used to just, well, it should be for everybody. It is for everybody if you like Caribbean food.
That's kind of why I asked that, because it is like being really specific, and something else that can like remove you from feeling, particularly at that time, from feeling safe, because food is like such a, you know, when you're walking around and you're like feeling a bit shit and you find your favorite meal or something, it nourishes your soul and it nourishes your body too. And then when I come back to London, like one of the other reason, and I will stop talking about this, I was so elated to come down and find that going on there, is I was about to go to Pret and buy a sandwich because I was hungry, but I went to Kofi first because I didn't want to be late. And the two things I crave when I come back to London, because you can't get them in Vigo in Spain, is Indian food, which I always go and eat with Sangeeta, a dosa, and Caribbean food. And so I got my two fixes that day because I had Indian food in the evening. But like so many things we do, food is what like brings everybody together, and I just love that.
Can I just say one last thing before we wrap up? That, you know, not everybody takes opportunities. As in, so when you came downstairs and you was talking, and I thought you was going to be, you know, an observer. And when I say to people who come to a canteen to see what I'm doing and see how they can get involved, it's like, do not come in as an observer. Like they're not people to be observed. It's like you come in, you sit down, you join in, right? And you did that, and you got the benefits of the canteen. So much so that the next day you invited me somewhere else, and I asked a question, and then you shared it, and all the connections have come from that. So I titles don't impress me, but honestly, when you come in, I was just like, oh, this trustee, what's he? He's coming to have a look around. Next thing, he's laughing and joking, eating oxtail, going, oh, I love this. So yeah, it's good. I'm glad you experienced it. And if anybody's listening, please do get in touch and come and do what Bernie did. Just come and break bread with somebody.
Mondays at Urban MBA. And also, if you are listening to this and run a co-working space in London and would like to host a Caribbean Eats on a regular basis in your co-working space, if you go to the show notes in here, you'll find out how to connect with Ali, and we'll put her LinkedIn and everything like that. Is there anything you want to say about that shout out?
Yeah,
Podcast?
I would. I'd just like to say that even if it's not about bringing like a canteen to you, just get in touch and if you've got a skill set that you might think, well, how will that connect to? For example, we've just got a new space, and it's a bare space. It's going to be, when I say bare, it's just a space, and so we have got to bring activity into it. I've got 5 months to build it up. You could be an interior designer, listen to this. That skill set will be really useful right now. So don't worry about how your skill set could be helpful to Carib Eats. I'm sure we'll find a way. But if not, look me up and just tell somebody about it, and tell somebody to tell somebody. That's
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time today. I'll be back on June the 6th for our London Co-working Assembly event there. I'm going to be hunting you down for some food. And thank you very much for your time and attention today. Ladies and gentlemen, be careful out there. It is a jungle.